how to be a good human being, right?
The one thing that I always took away from some of the great leaders that I worked with is they are eventually good human beings. They are inherently good. They want to see you develop, to grow, to become better yourself. So that's what stayed with me right through my life, and that's probably inspired by my father as well. Because when he passed away, the entire township that we live in came, and the only thing that I heard from them was he was a good man.
Tell me, you have spent like 16 years, then GE made 12 years. What made you stay?
Shell gave me a lot of opportunities to go and work in diverse markets. The 12 years in GE defined me as a leader. I did some very big jobs, did very well as well. Did some very meaningful work in the power and water space. I talked about your situational leadership during COVID. Nobody gave you that title. You just said, I want to own this and I want to go and make a difference. Absolutely right. That's what we want people to do. Means titles and designations are just are on the paper, but how you come across uh, as a leader, you don't need those titles. You can, if you can own a project, if you can own an initiative, nobody will stop. I think the crisis brings out the best in people. You see the best versions of people in a crisis, and I think as a team we rallied together, as a country we rallied together to ensure that we can take care of our loved ones.
Namaskaram, welcome to Shelly Thoughts episode 2. Today's guest is Mr. Gurumurthy Santhanakrishnan. He has an experience of 25 years, mechanical engineer from NIT Calicut and MBA from IIM Bengaluru. He's somebody who has led Fortune 500 companies through various executive leadership roles, be it the CEO of one of the business in GE, has served various VP roles in Shell as well, and now serving as VP at British Petroleum. He's somebody who loves cricket. And when you speak to him, you'll understand that he'll weave in every story of leadership lessons through cricket only. I know him through my days at GE and I've learned a lot from him. And I'm sure in today's conversation, you will learn what is leadership, true leadership, when you make sure that you keep the people at the center. So if you love watching leadership lessons, then this episode is for you. And I request you to watch it till end. Take care of you and enjoy the episode. So welcome, Guru. First of all, thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me. And this is something, has been very close to my heart because you have been my mentor as well. Your guidance has shaped my career that I'm hosting this very Shelly podcast with you. You have a 2.5 decades of experience across energy ecosystem and a career that has played out across multiple geographies and high impact roles. You have led leadership roles across Saint Gobain, Shell, GE. Shell is where you have spent maximum amount of time, like 16 years, I understand. Various leadership roles you have covered over there. Then GE, now including leading business and country responsibilities. And today, you are as a vice president in BP aviation fuel space. What I really personally loved while going through writing about you is how you bring leadership to life through stories and sports. You have written thoughtful reflections using cricket examples from Jacques Kallis and excellence to Justin Langer and discipline to Dhoni and trust, and even the importance of a steady contributor like Pujara. So today's conversation is a fireside chat or a deep conversation on leadership across cultures, leading through complexity, the power of pause, which is very crucial, and you have really made me understand the impact of it. And yes, a few leadership lessons from cricket as well. So welcome, Guru, to Shelly Thoughts. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. First of all, how are you feeling today?
Great. First of all, thank you, Shelly, for having me on your podcast. I've seen you grow as a podcaster, as somebody who's been blogging very extensively over the since COVID actually. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm feeling good today. As I said, my daughter is here. She's preparing to leave. So some happy thoughts, some sort of sad thoughts because she's going to fly back today. But it's been a good week. Happy to chat and share whatever insights that I can with you.
Thank you for that. And I'm sure आपकी बेटी आज जा रही है तो अच्छा भी लग रहा है कि like she is growing in her career, but I'm sure एक as a parent बुरा भी लग रहा है दूर जा रहा है, right?
Yeah, it's a बिल्कुल emptiness syndrome, Shelly. with when the kids come, couple of weeks your energy levels are high, and then suddenly you realize time just flies. You're ready to go back. But that's life. That's life. If they have to find their calling, and as you said, their wings have grown, and they have to find build their own career. I'm happy she's doing very well. So I'm very proud of both the girls. I have two daughters.
Wow.
Extremely proud of what these girls have achieved in their lives.
I'm great, and my wishes for her as well. And what we'll start with, we want to know who Guru is. So, जब लोग आपको first time मिलते हैं, what do you hope they remember? The title or the values? What value has stayed unchanged across your journey? Like, क्या एक चीज है जो आपको लगता है constant है आपकी journey में, जो आप चाहते हो कि आप सिखा के भी जाओ उस organization को या उस particular relationship को, या फिर जो आपको लगता है बहुत ही crucial element है आपके बारे में, which you want people to remember throughout your journey?
The only legacy that you leave behind, Shelly, is the fact that you were a good human being. I think nothing else matters. I say that with a lot of humility. I've had the good fortune of working with some very good leaders, and the one thing that I always took away from some of the great leaders that I worked with is they are eventually good human beings. They are inherently good. They want to see you develop, to grow, to become better yourself. So that's what stayed with me right through my life, and that's probably inspired by my father as well. Because when he passed away, the entire township that we live in came, and the only thing that I heard from them was he was a good man. So I think that's the legacy that you carry forward. It's not the titles, it's not the money, it's not the assets that you build, but the amount of goodwill that you've been able to generate, not only to yourself and to the wider people that you've met. So that's what I embody. Somebody I want to be known as somebody who was authentic, who was good, who wanted the folks that I work with to be better human beings. Hopefully that stays after all these titles and all these jobs that I've done over the last 3+ decades.
I believe ये चीज ना बहुत ही relevant है, how to be a good human being, right? And बहुत ही basic चीज है, but कभी-कभी throughout the journey हम एक बहुत ही basic element भूल जाते हैं, like how to be good to people as well. Because at the end of the day, nobody will remember who is Guru, who is Shelly. They will remember Guru by what he delivers, like what he was, right? Good human being. जब आपने अपने father के बारे में बताया, लोगों को एक ही चीज याद थी कि बहुत ही अच्छे इंसान थे, right? I believe that stays forever with the people, right?
Absolutely.
So, Guru, you have worked with across different markets, leadership contexts. What were the biggest shifts that shaped you the most? Like that has created a very meaningful impact in your career journey as a person. So if you can reflect something on that, so that people can learn something out of it for sure.
So my career is defined by 3 companies, right? St. Gobain was a very short while before I went to my master's. Shell for about 16 years, GE for about 12 years, and now BP for about 2.5 years. And my one sort of journey developing as a leader evolved as I sort of made this transition. In the first 15 years, I was executing a lot of the programs that the sales and marketing teams would design. So I was more of an executor, as I was trying to develop depth, be a good salesperson, be a good marketing person. So I think that was the focus for the first, say, 8 to 10 years of my journey. Once you've developed that depth, where you've developed expertise in sales and marketing, I said, I need to get some breadth. And that's when I made the transition from Shell to GE to become a business leader for one of the businesses. That sort of gave me a different perspective in terms of what leadership means. You're sort of more directing, you're a leader of teams, you're being looked upon to set the agenda, set the tone for the future. So that gave me a very different perspective. And within GE, I was very fortunate to go and work in Bangladesh, which we'll talk about separately. Means that gave a very different perspective to what sort of impact can you create in your role. So those, I would say, were the 2 big ones. So in BP, it's a very operational role. We deliver aviation fuel. So I'm learning a lot around how do you ensure that you manage all your costs, you manage your operations efficiently. Safety is a big criteria. So every role I've sort of developed, but I've also learned as well. So that's been the journey. I've been a constant learner. Every job teaches you something new. And as long as you have that learning mindset, you continue to grow as an individual, as a leader. So those I would say the three buckets that I would say the way I see my career.
You know, one thing I see very common whenever I talk to a leader of your caliber, that वो एक चीज हमेशा बोलते हैं, be a student throughout your life, right? So that your learning curve should never stop. It should not be like कि मुझे सब आता है. बोलो मुझे कुछ नहीं आता है, मुझे सिखाओ. कुछ. तो वो mindset रहेगा तो you know, your career will only flourish for better, for good.
Absolutely.
So thank you for marking that point very nicely, Guru. And Shelly, you have spent like 16 years, then GE में 12 years. What made you stay? There was a lot of diversity in role that you were constantly learning that wanted you to stick to one organization for such a long time. Was it that?
No, fortunately, all of these organizations had the breadth to be able to give you different opportunities. Within Shell, I started off in India, went to the Middle East for a few years, spent some time in China, which was a very different experience. I learned the rigor of execution by working with my friends and colleagues in China, for example. So these Shell gave me a lot of opportunities to go and work in diverse markets at a very young age. So it sort of gives you perspective as to each market has its own unique challenges. So how do you ensure that you tailor your sales and marketing programs to meet the requirements of the particular market? That was a big learning. G was more about execution. And so G taught me rigor of developing a rhythm of managing a business. So G was very different. It changed me as an individual. I was more of an introvert in Shell. G, I grew as a leader in Shell. I was an introvert. When I moved to G, I became more, I would say, open, challenged myself. G brought me out of my comfort zone. So I would say the 12 years in GE defined me as a leader. I did some very big jobs, did very well as well, did some very meaningful work in the power and water space. So very different, but as I said, very enjoyable. I made great friends along the way. And I had good fortune of working people like you, Shelly, for example. So GE Oil and Gas, with people like Ashish, with people like multiple people. And all of them taught me many things that I've tried to sort of pass on. You pay forward, right? What you've learned, you pay forward. And that's what I've tried to embody in all the interaction that I've had with not only you, but with other people, is to saying, how can I pass on some of the learning that I've had to the future generations, the future leaders of not only corporations, but India as well.
No, that's so true. In fact, I mean, मैं अगर अपने बारे में बात करूँ, मेरे experience में major share G का है. So it has groomed me as a leader. And one thing that I always remember is, if you want to be a leader, act like one. Don't look for people to give you directions. Try to curate a path for yourself and then learn to tread. Even if it is difficult, learn to tread. So that you will learn faster as well. कि हाँ, ठीक है, ये गलत कर दे, ये गलत नहीं करना है आगे जाके.
Very true, Shelly. Very interesting you mentioned that. So when my daughter was asking me, आज किसके साथ बात कर रहे हो? There's a colleague of mine, Shelly, and I talked about your situational leadership during COVID. How you were based in Alwar, I think, if I correctly.
Yes.
And you just took the leadership position on trying to help our colleagues in Baker. You were on the phone. You had gone through a very tough period within your family. Despite that, you stood up, and I don't know how many folks would remember the work that you did for them, ensuring they get hospital beds. So that's situational leadership. Nobody gave you that title. You just said, I want to own this and I want to go and make a difference to people. Absolutely right. That's what we want people to do. Means titles and designations are just are on the paper, but how you come across as a leader, you don't need those titles. If you can own a project, if you can own an initiative, nobody will stop. And and I think hats off to you. And that's what I told my wife and my daughter. This is Shelly that I'm going to speak to today.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Guru. I believe I was able to do because मेरे पास बहुत अच्छा circle था, आप लोगों का connect था, that I was able to pull it off. So अगर किसी एक जने को अगर बेड भी मिल जाता था तो अपने आप में वो इतना satisfaction लगता था कि मतलब पता नहीं क्या ही कर दिया. It was so meaningful. And
thankfully, Shelly, hopefully none of us have to live those days again in our lives.
Not at all. And I know I have spoken to many people and I know कि help आने के बाद भी कुछ नहीं हो पा रहा. तो बहुत ही difficult phase था, but I believe पूरे world ने बहुत strongly उसको embrace करके fight off किया. And जो उस time से निकल गए ना, they can face anything in the world. They have seen the worst as well.
Absolutely.
But एक चीज जो बहुत common हो गई थी उस time पे कि everybody was willing to help at that point of time. कोई ऐसा नहीं था जो मना कर दे कोई छोटी से छोटी help.
Absolutely.
तो एक वो चीज थी. मतलब I remember there was a guy in Delhi. He was feeding people because खाने की दिक्कत हो रही थी. उन्होंने घर में एक छोटा सा लंगर खोल लिया और वो लोगों को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं, जाके खाना दे रहे हैं वो सबको. उन्होंने बोला कहीं, और एक गुड़गांव में मेरे कनेक्शन में थे और फर्स्ट कोविड था, कोई खाना नहीं बना सकता था. उन्होंने दिल्ली से खाना भेजा उनके लिए कि नहीं, कोई भूखा नहीं रहना चाहिए. तो मतलब ऐसी चीजें देख के ना मेरे को मन भर आता है कि मतलब लोग कितना एट लेंथ जाके लोगों की मदद करते हैं.
I think the crisis brings out the best in people. And you see the best versions of people in a crisis. And I think as a team, we rallied together. As a country, we rallied together to ensure that we can take care of our loved ones.
No, definitely. And thank you for all the guidance and support you gave at that point of time. You have been there, and many leaders of GE on Baker Hughes who were just coming up together to make sure that nobody should go unhelped at all at that point of time. So great thing on that. So Guru, I mean, in all these scenario and from Shell to GE to BP, what changed in your leadership style as complexity increased? Or what did you unlearn? Because it's very important as we move forward that we should have the capacity to unlearn things as well, to learn new things. Might be something was working fine for me today, but next 10 years, that probably will not be workable for me, right?
See, the one learning that I did was you have to embrace the power of and. When I say that, it's not market share or profits. It is market share and profits. It's not about short term or long term. It's both short term and the long term. It's not about. It's more about you have to ensure that you're focused on tactics, but you're also developing strategies. It can't be done in isolations. Both have to go together. So I say that you have to embrace the power of the and, which probably I was not when in the initial phases of the career. You're so focused on doing well for the quarter, you don't think long term. So as I've transitioned, I've embraced both. It's about profits and costs. It's about market share and revenue. So you have to keep embracing. It's about people. It's not. So you can't be too soft, but you have to be assertive as well. So you have to embrace that. You have to be continuously operate in that continuum between the two extremes to ensure that you can continue to deliver for not only for yourself but develop others as well. So that's been I would say the mantra that I've changed, that I've evolved over the years. The other big change, as I said, I think I touched upon it a bit earlier, is to as you sort of transition into more senior leadership roles, your power to be able to, you have to change because people are looking up to you. People are looking up to you. So how do you and as you mentioned, the market out there is brutal. It's extremely volatile. Things change in an instant. So your ability to pivot, be able to sort of foresee what's going to happen, be able to pivot yourself, your team, your organization in a meaningful manner, and lead the team through this chaos in very calmly. So I think that's been the biggest, I would say, change from say the early 2000 to the Guru who is today. Being able to sort of anticipate change, prepare yourself for that change, and lead your team in a calm manner. Means I sometimes, and you mentioned about my fascination with cricket. If you look at and then Dhoni has been a great character for all of us, many of us. He's so calm. I'm sure there is chaos internal. There is doubt. There is anxiety. There is the pressure to deliver. But the exterior is very, very calm. So how do you come across as somebody who's got the confidence to be able to lead the team out of the volatility that's there, about the uncertainty that's there? That defines you as a leader. That's the big change that I've unlearned, being reactive to being almost prepare, and execute. That's the big change that I've sort of noticed in myself over the last, say, 10 years or so.
Great. I believe, how you act in the pressure really matters, because when the company or organization is under pressure, everyone does look up to the leader, how they behave, how they talk, what they deliver, how they, and how they analyze the situation. So if the person who is sitting at the highest position is calm and delivering the message with assertiveness, that this is crucial as well, really helps people to win the half game altogether.
Absolutely.
And if the same person is not keeping calm and just firing people here and there, and people are not feeling connected to help the person, I believe that's the biggest loss for an organization.
Your ability to navigate change, because people look up to you. Means your body language, the words that you use become so much more critical. So you have to, while internally you might be having, but the exterior has to be, because you lead your team through choppy waters. They're looking up. You're the captain of the ship. So how do you come across, build the confidence, build the resilience within the team, becomes very, very critical. I would say that's been a big trait that I've consciously. You have to develop this. Some people are born leaders, but you have to train yourself to be able to sort of lead, navigate change. And navigate with a purpose, in a purposeful way.
And among all this, which was the most hardest decision for you to take? Like that?
It's a difficult one, Shelly. So I think.
Was it moving to Bangladesh? Was it tough?
No, actually, moving to Bangladesh is actually, in my view, was a defining moment from a career perspective. And the reason I say that is, when I got the job, people were saying, "Kahan ja rahe ho, yaar? This is like a career-ending move. Wahan phas jaoge." Nobody goes there, because people who have gone there have actually sort of moved on and sort of they haven't really done well. But when I went there, it gave me a different purpose to what I'm doing. And I say this with a lot of humility, because when you give yourself a purpose, then job becomes, it's no longer a job. It becomes part of your daily routine. So the way I redefine my role is, I said, as GE, we are trying to ensure Bangladesh is a poor country. They've done extremely well in terms of GDP growth, in terms of female illiteracy, for example, infant mortality rates. So they're a country which is on a path to grow. And at that time, so when I went there, I said, how, as GE, we are trying to help the country become from a low income to a medium income country, for example. So you sort of give a purpose by saying, I'm helping Bangladesh to electrify, to bring power to people into rural areas. And when you see your work along those lines, the work becomes that more enjoyable. Great people to work with. They just embraced me. The team in Bangladesh just embraced me. So I was dealing with policymakers. I was dealing with the government. I was dealing with the US Embassy. Alstom acquisition had just happened. So there was a lot of visibility. So we are a big company in a small country. So the sort of exposure that you got was phenomenal. So it also was a development opportunity for me to be able to do aspects of the job which I could never have gotten in India, for example. So I was learning, but I was also doing meaningful work. The work that we were doing in GE Healthcare, ensuring that we can bring in some of the most modern equipment to hospitals in Bangladesh, was very satisfying, was very gratifying. So when, as a leader of the country, when you see your work making an impact on the ground, it no longer becomes work. It becomes, you actually want to go back to work day in and day out, because you're seeing an impact of what you're doing. So that was, I would say, a defining moment. I wouldn't say regret. Actually, a decision which many thought was a career ending actually helped me get a bigger role in GE when I came back to India. So it was a stepping stone. The people saw the good work that I did, helped me sort of learn, but also open doors that I would never have envisaged a few years ago.
But from a personal and a career perspective, it was a very big decision, because moving countries, and that to a very different country where people do not have a very positive outlook for it. But you went there and you not only flourished, you made sure that the company gets soaring high success over there as well. So you were creating an impact, you had the purpose, that purpose moved you to deliver even better than your own capacity.
Absolutely.
And that helped you land a CEO role in the digital solutions in GE as well. So I believe it was a tough but a very great move.
Absolutely.
in that direction.
In hindsight, I think was a great career move.
Great career move. And I remember that you were traveling often, like 2 weeks there or 1 week. That was it like that? How it was?
Fortunately, I think that's the good part of working with companies like G, right? Where they ensure that your personal circumstances are also taken care of. I had my elder daughter who was in her final year of school. We couldn't move to Bangladesh as a family. So I had the flexibility to sort of work 2 weeks in Bangladesh, a week back in India. I was covering India as well as part of my other role. So the flexibility and to be able to sort of balance both work and life was amazing. And it really worked out well from a family perspective. I could do some good work, but ensure that my family is also taken care of. And your question is, why did I stay with some of these companies for so long? Is some of those softer aspects of what an employee wants, right? The flexibility at that point of time was huge for me. And thanks to the leaders that I was working with, work never suffered. My family was equally supported. Wow. And those are some of the values that all of these three companies, Shell, GE, and now BP, have sort of given me the flexibility to define what you think is good for yourself and for the company. And then don't micromanage. Don't micromanage. As long as you're delivering good results, it doesn't matter where are you based, what are you doing. It's eventually results is what matters. And if you're delivering it, it doesn't matter whether you're physically present on the ground, you're doing work remotely. And that's the new age. That's the new age where zillennials coming in, they want flexibility. While they want to do meaningful work, flexibility becomes critical. And hopefully organizations will evolve along those lines.
No, that's very true. In fact, one of the things that I really cherish about JU is that it do not believe in micromanaging. Like I vividly remember, just make sure you get the work done. Whether you are in Himalayas or whether you are in Africa jungle, do wherever you are. Just make sure the work gets done. Nobody will question you ever. So that's again a quality of a leader, that empowering you that this is your job, this is your work, you do it, decide how you want to do it. Right. And I believe that's the reason that despite having a lot of flexibility, people were not even I've never seen anybody taking granted the flexibility portion. They sometimes end up doing more than one would have been in office.
Absolutely. People who come to work for us are mature individuals. Nobody wants to come to work to say, I want to screw up today. Everybody wants to come and deliver meaningful work. And as long as we treat people as mature adults, they will go and do some great work.
Great. That's very insightful. Good. I'm sure the audience, for everybody who is going to watch this episode, it's going to be a masterclass on how to decide not only for your career, but also how to shape the companies as well. Great. So you have solved many complex problems, complex and urgent challenges using technology. What is that one problem which you are most proud of simplifying? And you believe that this has created a meaningful impact. I understand that could be the case of Bangladesh as well, where you were making sure that power reaches every home. But is there any other situation where you have to decide that, okay, this is a very challenging problem and let's put a solution which is not very traditional solution. It's just something very customized one that you try to bring out for a company. Is there any anecdote that you would like to share with us?
Not an anecdote, but a real life example is we put up a factory for a baker in Pune, an assembly shop for building Belty Nevada panels for control system panels, a factory to assemble some of the valves that were being manufactured. Interestingly, India was always a big sourcing hub, and Baker and GE had developed multiple sort of vendors to actually feed the global factories. So I was one of those guys who was passionate about trying to say, well, if you're supplying global vendors to GE, why can't we actually do the entire job in India? So forgings will go from Coimbatore to a place in the UK, get tested and come back for assembly over here. He says, why can't we put up a test shop? Why can't we do end to end? And putting up a business case for manufacturing in India when everybody else is competing for jobs in a company like Baker, in a company like GE is not easy. Engaging very senior stakeholders, being passionate about saying India could be the next manufacturing destination for some of these products was highly satisfying. So fought with, Rami Qasim, Ed Bofara. I'm sure I don't know if they'll remember this, and with the supply chain team in Baker to saying why India could be a preferred destination. And we eventually did it. Unfortunately, I wasn't there when the factory got inaugurated, but I've been tracking the performance of the factory. It's highly loaded today.
Wow.
While the factories across the globe have shut down, because one is not only a cost arbitrage, but in terms of the quality of work that people in India can deliver was amazing. So both from a cost and quality perspective, Baker made significant, I would say, savings in from of having put up the plant in Pune. So that I would say is a great legacy to leave behind. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't getting the business case approved wasn't easy, especially when you're competing with shops in Dubai, shops in Korea. But managing to convince her was highly satisfying. And I think we were proved right, because today the other shops have closed, but this shop, I'm told, is flourishing and doing some great work.
That's great. I'm sure that's a vision that you must have envisaged for India in that case, right? That's why you were able to fight with the rightful stakeholders so that they get also convinced, that allowed the factory and manufacturing facility to build up over here.
I think the comment that we always get at India is always a promise that never gets delivered. And I've heard this in and deal with multiple stakeholders, both within and outside my companies. India is always a promise, whether it's an HP or whether it's a Ford or a General Motors. But I think in many cases we have delivered as a country. We've delivered as a country where, if you look at the Korean OEMs today, all of them make money today. Samsungs, the Hyundais, the Kias of the world. They've managed to find a solution to crack the India puzzle. And people like Shell, GE, BP have to crack that puzzle, saying, how do I remain relevant to be a big player in India? There is enough talent. We just don't want to be just a provider of low cost labor, but we can do high end work as well. And the global capability centers are coming up today, where a lot of engineering work is happening, high end research is happening. That's the way forward for this country. That's the way forward. So I did it in a small way from a manufacturing perspective, pushed Baker to put up a shop in Pune. And hopefully that decision was right, and will remain there for many, many more years to come.
But that has curated a path forward for, allowing the company to make sure that they learn to take the risk as well. And today, as on date, I believe every other company is having an eye on India, right? The kind of global stature that India has right now, that everybody wants to make sure that they have the manufacturing facility, or their next plant is going to be in India. That's what the news and the development that is what we are seeing right now. So that's really insightful to know, Guru, that you were really instrumental in having Digital Solutions one factory in India.
Yeah,
that's great. And in today's world, affordability, sustainability, and security often pull in different directions. So how does a leader make trade-offs without losing trust in all these: affordability, sustainability, and security? So you believe these three needs to be balanced? Or it is like if one leader has to really choose the best out of it, or they have to maintain the balance among these three?
So the one mantra that I learned very early was, if you keep the customer, especially if you're serving customers, if you keep the customer at the center of the conversation, what is good for the customer is generally good for the stakeholders as well. When I say stakeholders, for your company, for your shareholders, for the community that you live in, and for the employees. So every decision that you make is made with the say, am I moving the needle for my customer? And if the initiative, if the project helps your customer get better at what they are doing, you should go for it. And so it's not about trade-offs, it's trying to triangulate the three priorities. So you talked about what's I would say affordability, sustainability, and security, for example. So in each of this, I would not say it's a trade-off. Saying how can you balance the three? Trade-off is saying choosing either one of them. I'm saying have the three together. And a good example is, for example, in a few years from now, India will, especially the space that I'm working in is aviation, where sustainable aviation fuel is going to become a reality, where you have to find a way to reduce carbon emissions for airlines. And one of the initiatives that the industry is looking at producing biofuels, fuels from a perspective where you source from different materials which are more sustainable to ensure that you can sort of reduce the emissions. So that's an area that we're working very closely with our partners, both internally and globally, to saying how can we bring sustainable aviation fuels to the industry to try and help India meet its carbon emission goals. So it's not about trading off, saying finding a solution locally, which obviously has to make sense from a cost perspective. The customer has to ensure that it's available on a continuous basis, but also drives the sustainability agenda as well. So it's about triangulating balancing the three to ensure that you can sort of deliver the requirements.
I mean, that's meaningful. In fact, it's not about choosing one, but of course, creating a balance, because all three are equally important.
Absolutely.
When one has to, deliver to the customers as well. Great. I also know that you coach and mentor leaders as well. So what is the most common blind spot you see in senior leaders today? And whenever you talk to people, so what is that one area that you believe is something that they need to start working on?
All of us have blind spots, including me, right? And I think the one realization that I've had in my multiple companies, I've been on this journey for almost 4 or 5 years now, is the lack of ability to appreciate that you have blind spots, and then you need to work on it to get better at it. Means there is a lack of self-awareness, I would say. There is lack of self-awareness as to saying, how can I get better at what I'm doing? So helping people identify those blind spots and then work on it on a consistent basis has been a challenge. And not many people are willing to change. While everybody want to change, but the rigor to make that change is a challenge. But I've had some very great conversations. It's been a mentoring process both ways as well. While I've mentored people, I have had the fortune of mentoring young students where I've learned a lot of good stuff as well. For example, the whole area around digital marketing. I was mentoring a student from a business school in Gurgaon. She was doing a startup. So while you coach and mentor people, but you also use the opportunity to try and learn new skills around digital marketing. He was doing a startup around digital marketing, helping him build the company. Was hugely learning opportunity for myself as well.
Oh, great. So what you have just mentioned is like mentoring is a two-way learning process. Absolutely. Not you're just coaching, but you're also getting some kind of insights which are meaningful for you as well. Absolutely. And that's a great way to keep the learning curve on for anyone at any stage of their life as well. Great. What is that one daily practice that keeps you grounded as a leader? I know you're a very grounded person, Guru, from my experience, I know. But is there any practice that you do every single day that just to make sure that you are approachable for the people? That's the very best thing about you is when I reached out to you after so many years, I never thought twice that I should reach out to him or not. Because your aura is very, very, very approachable. That, okay, Shelly, you can always reach out to him. Don't think twice. And when I messaged you on LinkedIn, you said, Shelly, give me a call on phone directly. So what is that one practice that you would like people to learn?
You have to have practice gratitude day in and day out. You're so fortunate to have been born in a good family, get a good education, get a good job, you're secure. So there is so much to be grateful for. Practice active gratitude for what you have, because a lot of us focus on मेरे पास क्या नहीं है, मेरे पास गाड़ी नहीं है, मेरे पास छोटी गाड़ी उसके बड़ी गाड़ी, मेरे पास बंगला उसके नहीं है. I think there is so much that you have: great family, great children, great parents, very good friends. So there is so much to be grateful for, and if you practice gratefulness, you realize your life becomes that much more. I would say your anxiety goes away because you're so fortunate to have had so many things. Because that's one thing, and also try and pay forward. Pay forward in the sense that you had the fortune of learning so many good things. How can you pass it on to the next generation? So the very fact that when you reached out to me, say, how can I help Shelly? Is there some way that I can help Shelly get better at what she's doing? So that if you develop that attitude, then you're actually creating an impact helping people get better at what they're doing. So those are the two things that I would say have been sort of my sort of mantra. Be grounded.
So gratitude and
gratitude and pay forward, I would say.
Or you can say giving attitude will also work.
Yeah, I mean, so being more, for example, being very generous with your time, for example. Means people, whenever somebody is called up, I said, Guru, can I have a chat? I said, immediately, not send an email, but I said, pick up the phone and have a chat. Because when people are reaching out to you, obviously they're struggling with something, they want your help, they want your counsel. So be very generous with your time. And I think at some point of time, I keep saying this, people don't want your money, they want your time. They want your time, including my parents. They don't want my money, they want my time.
Yeah, it's a invaluable thing, I believe. Like you cannot trade it at any cost with anything also. Absolutely. So gratitude and pay forward is something that keeps Guru grounded, and that's why your aura is such that people always feel satiated whenever they interact with you. Is there anything that you're afraid of, Guru, ever in your life? Is there something that, because people have seen you, delivering and giving and be kind to people, but is there anything that Guru is afraid of? That, okay, this is something I really do not like, or I believe this is something that I don't want to happen ever. Is there anything?
Obviously, you want to be able to read the future. So which unfortunately you can't. To be very honest, sometimes what's going to happen in the future, not only personally at a business context with yourself, with your family, with your friends. So the uncertainty about the future. So you try and overcome that by saying living in the moment. आज जो हो रहा है सही हो रहा है, कल को जो होगा सही होगा. Keep reminding that you have things that you can't control, so just forget about it. So just remain focused on कि जो आप कर सकते हो उसको ढंग से करो, सही से करो. Hopefully the future will take care of yourself. So the uncertainty about the future is obviously it keeps everybody awake, but you try and bring your back, let's live for the day, and hopefully we've done good things. The future will take care of it.
That's very profound, Guru. And आपकी बात से मुझे एक बात याद आई. Last year, I learned from one of the course of Sadhguru in Coimbatore, and he taught 5 things over there. He said, one is all the rules are my rules. Second is I'm responsible for everything, no matter what in situation. If you start thinking from that mindset, then you'll understand whatever is happening around you is because of you only. So you're responsible for everything. Third is whatever there is, accept the way it is. Do not think कि कुछ और हो सकता था. जो हो गया वो हो गया और वो ऐसे ही होना था. उसको एक्सेप्ट करना सीखो. चौथी चीज उन्होंने बताई कि learn to embrace and tell yourself that you are not the body, not the mind. You are the soul. You have a purpose over here. Learn to and try to find out your purpose and start delivering in that regard. And the last one is like be, as you said, be a good human being. That means be a mother to the world, because a mother is someone who is always kind to the people, right? वो किसी के लिए ना हो, अपने बच्चे के लिए तो हमेशा ही अच्छी रहेंगी, काइंड रहेंगी, ग्रेटफुल रहेंगी, गिविंग रहेंगी. तो वो एटीट्यूड रखना पूरी दुनिया के लिए. तो ये 5 चीजें ऐसे मतलब चिपक गई मेरे दिमाग में. एंड whenever I'm in a situation where I believe something is not right happening, and I keep telling these 5 things to myself, and then हर चीज अलग डायरेक्शन में दिखनी शुरू हो जाती है कि जो हो रहा है अच्छे के लिए हो रहा है. Just keep it as it.
Great perspective, Shelly. मैंने लिखा नहीं, but after the conversation I noted down.
मैं आपको भेजूंगी. ये उनके इनर इंजीनियरिंग के प्रोग्राम में वो सबसे पहले सिखाते हैं.
Very you summarized it very well. Very summarized.
Thank you. And I follow him, and उनकी teachings they काफी like I have seen a very great change in my life in the last 1 year. I used to get very angry and hurt initially. अब नहीं हो पाता वो चीज. अब शायद practice इसके साथ आ गया है कि भाई हर चीज से अपने आप को फर्क नहीं पड़ाना है. तो I believe this is coming to my next question, because I strongly believe that spirituality and leadership are intertwined. So do you also believe that if the person is spiritual or have some context of kindness or spirituality in him or her, can be a good leader for the people?
Yeah, you need. We've had this debate, especially with my daughters, who I think are atheists. So we have had this conversation around what is it? Is that God? Is that superpower? Is that something, some higher up? So some energy. I don't know the way you want to call it. But I always believe that you need a North Star. Could be a thought, a process, a belief, a person, a guru, I don't know, whatever is it. That North Star is required. Whatever you want to call it, which defines the way you want to come across as a person, as an individual, as a leader. So that North Star is required. In some people, it's spirituality. Some people, it's the work that they do. You call it ikigai, your purpose. So you have to have that. I'm spiritual. I'm saying I'm spiritual, but not orthodox. I'm not religious, but I do my prayers, go to the temples regularly, because that's my anchor. That's my anchor that keeps me grounded. So everybody has to find their anchor. Mine is, as I said, spirituality, but not orthodox. We just set up the Christmas tree yesterday at home. So it's
Great.
celebrations. Celebration. So you try and celebrate every occasion, and then, so that's what that's the. So yes, to answer your question, yes, it's important for me. It's helped me as an individual. I'm not as a but as an individual, saying it keeps me anchored.
वही मतलब जैसे आपने बोला कि it need not to be a god, it can be anything. It's a purpose of your life as well that you really Lord Star, which you just mentioned. It can be anything. जिससे देख के सुन के फील करके आपको मोटिवेटेड फील हो या फिर अच्छा करने का मन करे, तो वही अपने आप में वही स्पिरिचुअलिटी है एक्चुअली, बी कनेक्टेड टू समथिंग that ways. That's very insightful. Okay, now I'll tweak the conversation a bit around cricket as well, because I know you're a big fan and I love to hear your stories and leadership lessons around it as well. So you often use cricket as a leadership mirror. So what does cricket teach leaders that corporate training often misses, as per you?
So I've been very passionate about sports. I play almost all sports. I'm not good at it, but give me a racket, give me a bat, I'm a very physical person. So one is not just cricket. I mean, sports teaches you, and I wish kids play a lot more than what they do today. I mean, it gives you lessons that you can't teach in a corporate world. It's about teamwork, where I've said this very often. Sometimes we are so focused on our individual roles that we forget that in many, you might win, but the team might not win. You might have the best quarter, but then the rest of the company doesn't deliver, because you have to ensure that you carry the entire team around. So I keep quoting this, and you might hit a century, but if you've lost, the match doesn't make a difference. So it's all about collective performance. So one is, it allows you, when you win, you have to stay humble. When you lose, how do you take lessons from those losses? So sports is a great, gives you a lot of life lessons that we try and that's what I've used. I mean, it could be cricket is because that's what I've followed the most. But of late, I've looked at football, at golf, for example, saying what lessons can you learn from those episodes, and try and create those learning moments. Because when you tell stories remain with you. Remain with you. So use those real life examples to saying what can be learned from that. That's what I've tried to do, and hopefully that relates to people that who read my blogs.
Oh, definitely. And I'm an avid fan of how you narrate the whole story, and उस पूरी स्टोरी किस तरीके से कनेक्ट हो जाती है एक लीडरशिप लेसन से, वो बहुत इंसाइटफुल होता है. So आपने पुजारा के बारे में लिखा है, धोनी के स्टाइल के बारे में लिखा है. You wrote about Dhoni and letting people execute their plan. So how do you build that kind of trust in team, especially when the stakes are very, very high? By remaining calm, by making sure that you deliver and you are assertive in your ask as well? What are the lessons that you would like to give to the audience?
So one is, if you have a process in place, right? Stick to the process. Stick to the process unless something dramatically changes. So if the process is right, the outcome will be right. And that's what I think Dhoni keeps saying, especially in crunch situation, if your preparation for a test match is right, in terms of you've done all the training, you've got rest, you've got the strategy set, and then you go and execute. You go and execute on the day. If you have a set process, trust the process will give you results. There can be one odd case where the process doesn't get you the desired result, but stick to the process. Don't abandon the process. So that has been my big sort of takeaway from Dhoni, saying stick to it and the results will take care of itself. So the only thing that you control is your training, your preparation. Have you got the right diet? Have you got the right sleep? And then you go and express yourself. The results will take care of itself. So I've been a great believer in that. I've been saying have a process in place and execute the process well. The results take care of. And that's true for even within companies, right? You have a process in place, whether it's in sales, operations, sales, marketing, finance. If the process is well laid out, it's optimized, the results will automatically take care of itself.
So at the end of the day, it's a process. So process is something that you should also adapt as per the need as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm saying don't be rigid, but I'm saying, but don't abandon the process at the first sign of trouble. Means you don't change your strategy just because you've had a bad match, you've had a bad quarter. And you have to ensure that you can execute it well. So that process has been, for me, that's the one big principle. Obviously, apart from him being a very calm leader, being able to sort of navigate, rally the team around a purpose. So some of those aspects are equally great. This is one standout for me in terms of lesson is to saying stay to the process and don't abandon it at the first sign of trouble.
Great. I believe this is very insightful. So again, the process do not abandon it at the very first instance, but make sure that you follow it, and it should adapt as per the situation where you are in as well.
Yeah, I'm not recommending rigidity, but I'm saying, but also not liking being very fickle. So for every every Virat Kohli, you need a Pujara. Means you need somebody who is your mainstay, and especially teams. And he's been a great team man. I think I wrote about him almost 10 years ago. And I wrote, I sort of reviewed his legacy when he retired about, I think, 6 months ago, saying when you review his legacy, the one outstanding feature has been he was an essential team man. You demand of him to go and stand at the short leg, which you are we are very close to the back. You're bodily, you're risking yourself from that perspective. He would be the first man to stand up and say, I want to sort of stand at short leg. If you want somebody to bat for your life, he will ensure that he puts his body, soul, everything behind to ensure that the team can get across. So that what was the sheer resilience, grit, never say die spirit, grind the opposition down. I think those are some of the qualities that I really liked. So I think great team mentor. You need those guys. So while you might have the flashy players, but you need somebody who's solid, who will sort of ensure that when the crisis happens, he's there to sort of ensure that the team can rally around him. He's been a great character from that perspective.
It's like you need people not only who are there for you to get quick wins, but somebody who should hold the fort for you as well.
Absolutely.
He was one of them. Indeed. So Guru, now we'll talk about the power of pause. And going through it, I strongly believe in that now, because that has made me understood my strengths and my areas where I can deliver more. In your career, when did pausing help you make a better decision than reacting fast? And second question, or you can say follow-up question to it, is how do you believe, or you can give a guidance, how can busy leaders create pause without guilt? Or is it really necessary for people to take these days?
Good question, Shelly. In this age of WhatsApp, Instagram, where you're almost responding, and Twitter, there's so much of information that's coming your way. You tend to be constantly engaged. Even leaders that I've seen, an email comes into your inbox, you're almost in a hurry to sort of type a response back. And some of those responses you've realized, after you've sent that email, you realize, oh boss, galat kar diya. And especially when you react, is to saying, could I have responded back differently? Could I have taken a pause and reframe the discussion to ensure that there is a better outcome? So for me, pause is not just about, for example, when you ask me a question, I didn't respond to you immediately. I deliberated on the question and then said response to you. So you're very right. Pause is very critical. Pause is critical to ensure that you frame your thoughts. Pause is critical from a practice perspective. Means we are so busy. Can you switch off, reconnect with what you want to do? Could be health, could be family, could be your own passion. So try and devote time for those activities which are beyond work, because we define ourselves by what we do at work, but work is just one part of your life. There are other things that you want to pause on. So I've sort of practiced. Unfortunately, I haven't done it so often in the recent past, but in my initial phase of the career, I would take breaks regularly, for example. Take breaks to ensure that you can go and reconnect, come back recharged. So pause is highly recommend. Do you reflect on the day that went by before you go to bed, for example? That's something that's helped me get better at what I want to do next day, for example. Just pause and says, "Aaj kya acha hua? Aaj kya galat hua? How could I have come across in that situation? Could I have come to do something differently, for example?" That gives you perspective. That gives you perspective, and if you were confronted with that situation the next time around, you have a better response back.
So it's a kind of a reflection to yourself only.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That tells you that you really
And you call it pause, I call it reflection, but don't leave it for the end of the quarter, end of ki aaj 6 mahine baad mein karunga. That pause has to happen at any point of time. It doesn't have to wait for a vacation. It doesn't have to wait for a holiday to be able to reflect. That can happen. That pause can happen. That's how you re-energize. You come back charged at work, in your personal life, with your children, with your spouse, with your friends.
आई बिलीव जब ये आपने बोला कि जब आपको लगता है स्ट्रांगली कि मुझे अभी इस टाइम थोड़ा रुकना चाहिए, तब वो कर लेना चाहिए, उसको रश नहीं करना चाहिए, उस थॉट को रश नहीं करना चाहिए कि नहीं चलो बाद में करके देखता हूँ या देखती हूँ. अभी अगर थॉट आ रहा है, sit and just try to reflect.
Just to give you an example, just yesterday we had a situation where there was this back and forth on emails, and those emails were, you could see the anchor question going up with every email. When you had to pause, guys, let's step back. And this was a coaching moment for one of my colleagues. I said, could you have done this differently? And he said yes. So because we tend to respond, we listen to respond, we don't listen to understand. And that happens in not only spoken but in written communication as well. When you're you just want to say, if you had reflected back, the response would have been much different. Outcome would have been very different.
आपकी बात से मुझे एक चीज याद आई, like back when I joined GE, I joined as supplier fulfillment manager, and there was a very tough stakeholder of mine sitting in Florence. He was a guy who is like on your head every single time. No matter how much you deliver, he'll always like cuss you and tell you things. So the whole team of 40 people were really stressed upon because of his behavior, because whenever you write something, he'll always question you back. He'll always tell you bad things. So I decided to change my way of working with him. So I decided to make sure that whatever his ask is, I try to give him 100%, like closed loop communication, no room for open-ended conversation. And I always made sure that if something bad is going to happen, I tell him before that, okay, this is going to happen. So please make sure this is going to impact the quarter as well. And in the last 15-20 years, he never appreciated anybody. And when he was releasing the quarter reports, like this has been done, this project has been delivered, we were able to deliver this much of amount of value of projects, he mentioned about me as well in that email. That great contribution by Shelly. And the whole team was surprised. Even my manager came and said, what you did, that he's praising somebody, because he never praises anybody at all. So I believe I used to also, I was younger, a fresher, you can say, just 2-3 years into the organization. I also used to feel a rage to reply back to him, but I was like, what am I doing? I'm replying back, he's replying back. Nothing is getting solved actually. So I believe a simple change of attitude helped me have a very good rapport with him even today. Right?
Fantastic.
So
nobody likes surprises, especially if you're going to have a bad quarter. To give a heads up at the earliest, so that and surprise is both good and bad. Probably bad is probably more often worse. Also, if you're anticipating a deal that will get lost, give your manager a heads up very early, because it solves a lot of problems. Because people then can plan, look at contingencies. कोई project slip हो रहा है, revenue slip हो रहा है, तो कोई और project लेकर आ जाएंगे. So that nobody likes surprises, as I said, especially if it's a bad one.
So transparent communication is very much required.
Proactive, transparent communication, especially proactive communication, transparency, full transparency, working without an agenda. Critical.
No, true that. I believe that's very, very, very much required, because कभी-कभी मेरे को ऐसा लगता है, like I'm telling you from my experience as well, कि जब communicate ढंग से नहीं होता ना, तो चीजें इतनी सी होती है, वो इतनी बन जाती हैं. वहीं अगर आप टाइमली चीजें बता देंगे और उसका कॉन्टेक्स्ट बता देंगे भाई क्यों हुआ, तो चीजें इतनी ब्लर कभी होती ही नहीं है. That way. And if you have to look back on your journey, Guru, what is that one piece of advice you would like to your younger self? कि ऐसे करना चाहिए था, ऐसे नहीं करना चाहिए था. What is that one piece of advice you would like to give?
Take more risks. and I say that I think I was very conventional in my career. And hopefully, I'll tell this to my daughter very, very take risks early in your career.
Hmm.
I think the leverage that you have is that much more. So if I would love to take a few more risks in terms of exploring different career options, and then try and find what your calling is. Sometimes we get straitjacketed. You get the first opportunity that came your way. College से निकले, campus में job लिया, चलते रहे, करते रहे. You didn't have the opportunity to look sideways and try and see. You talked about your purpose, right? If you can identify it pretty early in your life, that makes it even more meaningful. It took me a long time to find my purpose. So if you can do that, take a few risks early in your career, go ahead and do it. If you can afford to do it, go ahead and do it.
Go ahead and do it. With this, I remember your talk when you were in Singapore a few months back, I believe, for your daughter's graduation ceremony, and she took robotics engineering. Is my understanding correct? And you said it's very unconventional to do this kind of engineering. And then we had a chat about it that today, if she loves doing it, that's her calling, right?
So, for example, she had offers from established companies. She said, "नहीं, मेरे को जाके startup में काम करना है." Because that's where the learning happens. And she's joined a startup in Bangalore, and the sort of work that she's doing, I said, would never have had the opportunity to in a process-driven company where you're only doing what you're told to do. She's designing, she's manufacturing, she's assembling, she's testing. So those are the risks I wish I could have taken, and I would encourage my kids to take the risks and explore. And try and make a few mistakes. So what? You'll learn from those mistakes. As long as you learn from those mistakes and move on, that experience was worth it.
Yeah, the mistakes are equally important for one to learn and grow better.
Absolutely.
Moving forward. And that's very true, because your daughter has joined a startup, and this is, I'm telling you from my experience. I joined a startup only, but there I learned tremendously that I landed a job in GE. That experience landed me a role in GE. So in startup, you are everywhere. You're doing everything. So you are getting the best of the world out there. Try your hands on. So that's very, very true for sure. So Guru, before we wrap up, there is a kind of a quick fireside chat that we'll do. So I'll give you some questions. You don't get time to think. So whatever comes to your mind first, you have to say. Okay?
Let's try. This is my first time. Let's see how it works. Yeah.
Okay. So what is that one word that describes your leadership style today?
Authentic.
Authentic. That's very true. When pressure spikes, what is your go-to pause ritual?
Take a few deep breaths.
Oh, that's very much required. That really helps calm the nerves. And your favorite cricketer as a leader, and why in one line?
Many Rahul Dravid.
Rahul Dravid. Great wall.
Yes. Yeah, great wall.
Great wall. One leadership habit that you wish every first-time manager built early.
Empowerment.
And like help to grow people.
Yeah.
One book or podcast or idea that every leader should consume right now.
Many. For example, see, I think all of us who worked in GE, I think we're highly influenced by what Jack Welch did to the company. So some of his thoughts have really shaped my own leadership style, my own journey. Take control of your destiny, or someone else's, for example. A great book to read. And I think I read it almost 20 years ago. It was highly influential at the point of time, saying you have to be very vocal with what you want. Otherwise, the company will give you what they want.
Yeah, I mean, that's about, have a conversation about your career by yourself. Don't wait for the person to come up to you and tell you.
Absolutely.
So this is something that really echoes with me as well, because 5 years into GE, and one of my manager told me that, Shelly, it's your career. You are the owner. Don't wait for your manager to come and tell you, now you should do that. Tell your manager, this is what I want to do. Now tell me, how can I do that? So it's like, take the charge of your career in your hands, and then only you'll be able to flourish. Great, Guru. That's a very insightful conversation, and it's a masterclass for me as well, because it is, we have talked at length previously as well, but this is something that has really gave me a perspective of how to look at life, how to look at career, and how much to take risks as well. This was leadership with depth, perspective, and calm. Exactly what Shelly
Thank
thought
you.
stand for. So
So,
thank you. Thank you for
so
that.
when I signed up for this, this was my very first podcast. I was wondering what have I signed up to, but it felt very natural speaking to you, Shelly. I think compliments to you.
Thank you so much and
Thank
great
you.
talking.